I also got an email on a separate issue from one of our viewers, Gonzo, a longtime viewer. He's actually set up the TYT Army, a website directed to that, which is fantastic. And he emailed me about a clip that Keith Olbermann did on his program last night, and I checked it out. And it turned me onto an article that I had missed, honestly, and I was really glad that I've seen it. It's by Samuel G. Friedman in the New York Times. I'm going to get to that article in a second, but now, you guys remember, we've of course had this nonsense controversy about the Park 51 project. Oh my God, it's an Islamic cultural center somewhat near Ground Zero, etc. And then some people pointed out, and there were several articles written about, hey, wait a minute, you know, the Pentagon was also attacked. And it turns out there's a room for prayer about 100 feet from where the Pentagon was attacked. And on Fridays, Muslims pray there. And actually, they can pray there any day of the week that they want. It's a prayer room, and Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, Muslims, they're all not only allowed to go there, encouraged to go there, and they do go there, right? So why is everybody raising a big deal if there's already a place for Muslims to pray 100 feet from where the plane struck the Pentagon on 9/11? Well, it turns out Samuel Friedman thought, hey, you know what? I wonder if there was something similar in the World Trade Center. Good thinking. Turns out there was. There were two places for Muslims to pray on a regular basis inside the World Trade Center. They, of course, no longer exist because they were destroyed on 9/11. But one of them was on the 17th floor of the South Tower. It was an official prayer room for Muslims, and Muslims that worked in the building would often go there. Some of them were stockbrokers, some of them were waiters, and the whole gamut of different Muslims. New York Times found some and interviewed them, talked about 30 to 40 people going there on a regular basis from all walks of life, right? Because Muslims worked in the World Trade Center, and they died there as well. I don't know if you know this, about 60 Muslims died on that day in the attacks. And, of course, obviously, a lot of them worked in those buildings. So another place that they had a prayer area for Muslims was on the 106th and 107th floors of the North Tower, because Windows on the World had many Muslim waiters and staff. So they didn't want to go all the way down to the mosque, which, by the way, exists today 4 blocks from the World Trade Center. So you see how media coverage affects things? So they're going to do a Islamic Cultural Center 2.5 blocks away from Ground Zero. And everybody goes ballistic. Oh my God, Ground Zero mosque, oh, it's unacceptable. Meanwhile, the whole time, there's been a mosque 4 blocks away. That'd be a block and a half away, you know, block and a half further than the one that would be built. So should we destroy that mosque? Should we make them move somewhere else? No, nobody even talks about it. It's not even an issue. But now you find out there was actually places for Muslims to pray within the World Trade Center, which is, of course, the most obvious thing in the world because so many people, including Muslims, Christians, Jews, etc., worked in that building. So after the 1993 bombing, should we have gotten rid of those and said, if you were as a Muslim American working in the World Trade Center, you're not allowed to pray there? No, of course not. None of this was an issue until Fox News Channel made it an issue. Don't fall into their trap. America's much better than this. We were better before 9/11. We're better after 9/11. And of course, have there been Muslim prayers at the site of Ground Zero before? Absolutely. You know, one of the times they did it was to mourn those 60 Muslims that died there. They had to have a prayer ceremony that you normally do in Islam when you cannot recover the bodies. They went there and prayed over the victims, Muslim victims of 9/11. But yet, you know, it took how many months to even find out about this? By the way, one of the guys who died worked at Windows on the World. His name was Abdul Karim Traore. And you know, you hear some of the stories, and I've told you some of the stories before. There was a guy who worked at Windows on the World. His son was born 48 hours after 9/11. There was a Muslim couple on one of the planes that crashed into the towers. She was 7 months pregnant. It was going to be their first child. I mean, to dishonor their memories like this, and now to turn around and treat them like they're not Americans like everyone else, it's just grotesque. We've got to fight this nonsense propaganda Fox News puts out there. with counter information. But most importantly, we got to fight it by realizing what they're doing, the game that they're playing. They are purposely trying to misinform the country and do demagoguery and set us against one another. We got to be better than that.